Hey guys, Account Second here, and this is the info video for Season 19 of the NASCAR Pokemon Cup Series. What you see, what scheme you see, if you're on one of these rides, what scheme you see on the video is the one you'll be using for the entire season of the series, for the rest of the entire season. I really can't change paint scheme. I can, but, well, I'm not going to because, well, it becomes a tedious task every race to change paint schemes for certain drivers, and so I like to stick with one paint scheme for each other driver for the rest of the season, for our season or two, so, or however long this could go up to, so I like to change things up a bit. So you're going to see a couple drivers with new paint, you're going to see a couple numbers, I should say, with new paint schemes they'll be using for this season. So I like to stick with one paint scheme per driver per season because that would make things go a lot faster, and it would not be a tedious task to change every race. So anyway, even with just a few drivers. But anyway, here are the drivers that are going to be racing in Season 19. We start off in the number 1. It's Joseph Shrigley. Last season he was in the 16. For Penske Racing, now he's driving for Earnhardt Ganassi Racing, and one of the Halo cars, by the way, this season. The other one's the 88, who we'll get to in a little bit. But he, in the number 1, is finally sporting the Halo 5 Guardians colors. So Joseph Shrigley is now part of the Halo crew or something like that. Most importantly, he's an Earnhardt Ganassi driver now. He moved from the 16 to the 1. In the number 2, JT Bryant. Representing Penske Racing, and he has a new paint scheme for Miller Lite based on the retro paint scheme from Darlington Raceway. No, not the one from Darlington. The one Darlington was the red one you saw last season, but this season brings the retroness back in true form in the number 2. The Miller Lite retro real paint scheme is now going to be used for this season. Last season, JT Bryant was in the number 11 for Joe Gibbs. Now he's racing for Penske in the number 2. That was driven by Dylan Young in the majority of seasons. But now JT Bryant has that ride. In the number 3 is Nathan Hudson. Last season, he was a part-time driver that got a ride for the rest of the season last season after Power Quest was kicked out because, of course, NERA, well, only lasted a season and a half with NERA sanctions. And it didn't work out well, let's just say. So we went back to NASCAR, and Nathan Hudson replaced Power Quest with a new number even for the rest of the season. And now Nathan Hudson's back in a full-time ride. We're happy to say. Hudson was in the 29 last season. That could count as Richard Childress Racing. He'll be in the number 3. He's staying with the same team, just with a different number and a different paint scheme. I think this is the only 3 paint scheme I never actually got to use until now. So it'll be exciting to see the Cheerios car back again. In the number 4, representing Stordhaus Racing, is Eric Powers. Last season, Eric shared a ride with his son Mason in the 88 machine under a duo championship. Now Eric finally has a full-time ride to his own, and now he'll be driving in the 4 machine for Stordhaus. Separate teams, but same series. And a new paint scheme too. Busch Beer is the new sponsor for the number 4 car. In the number 5, representing Hedrick Motorsports, Jessica Emery. She's going to LiftMaster in the number 5. And that paint scheme I used a couple seasons ago for the All-Star Showdown only. But I've decided to promote it up to a full season ride in Season 19. It was the only 5 paint scheme I didn't really show much of, so I figured why not. And Emery, she was in the number 20 last season for Joe Gibbs. Now she's in Hedrick, the big Hedrick Motorsports team, in the number 5 for LiftMaster. In the number 6, we have Jacob Lawler. Lawler, he's closing in on the all-time wins lead in the series. He might be able to do so this season in a new ride. He was in the 38 last season for Front Row Motorsports. Now he's moved on to Roush Fenway Racing in the number 6 Advocare machine. Advocare going back to its original colors because Chloe Baker was actually in the 6 last season with the pink Advocare scheme. And now we're back to Advocare. Good old blue and white and red. In the number 9, representing at Richard Petty Motorsports, is Zachary Fitzwater in his same number he was last season. So Fitzwater stays with Richard Petty, and he has a new paint scheme for Advanced Auto Parts Speed Perks. It was about time I changed the Twisted T scheme because it was getting pretty old. I finally found different schemes for the 9, so we're able to use another one this season. Fresh coat of paint. In the number 10, representing Stored Haas Racing, it's Kyle Collins in the Sandy Cheeks machine. You're going to see a lot of these SpongeBob schemes all throughout this season because I really want to use the SpongeBob schemes in the series. I didn't know if I was going to use them in Nura, but this season, now that we're under Pokemon Cup NASCAR again, not under Nura, we're going to make it more creative and decide to finally go and let out those paint schemes, those SpongeBob schemes. This season. I have had them and I want to use them in the series, so now you're finally going to see them in action. And Collins last season was in the number 8. I brought the number 8 car, albeit a different sponsor than we usually see last season, but now you see here decided not to do it, and neither will the 7. So 7 and 8 are not coming back. The number 10 is coming back with a new driver, Kyle Collins. Desiree Voiles was in the ride last season. Now Collins will drive the number 10 for Stored Haas. In the number 11, representing Joe Gibbs Racing, it's Philip Goldberg. Last season and seasons previously, he was in the 18. But Philip decided to change things up. He's on the same team, but he's now in a new number, number 11. He's hoping to finally get that first ever Pokemon Cup win in a brand new number. And we have FedEx Office as his paint scheme this season. In the number 13 for Germain Racing, it's Avi Sachs, one of the final 4 competitors last season. He kept his ride from the previous season, and he has Squidward in his car. Another SpongeBob paint scheme. In the number 14 is William Brock. He was in the 7 last season. He is moving on to the number 14 to a new team, Stored Haas Racing. Well deserved for William Brock. Hopefully it will be the beginning of a good career in the series. In the number 15 is Brandon Nichols. He's representing 5 Hour Energy and Michael Waltrip Racing. Brandon, by the way, if I could find Brandon Nichols, if I could find his name last season. I'm actually going through last season's list, so I apologize if I can't find his name anywhere. It's going to be a little tough. Nichols. Oh yeah, 25. He was in the yeah, I found his number. Brandon Nichols last season was in the 25. He represented Hedrick Motorsports. Now he's moving to MWR in the number 15. In the number 16, representing Roush Fenway Racing, it's O'Neal Balvin. And he has Patrick Starr in his car this season. Balvin was in the 4 machine that now has Eric Powers on the ride. And O'Neal is changing teams now. Well, he didn't have a great season last year, but hopefully this year with a new team and a new number, things will turn up better. In the number 17, representing Juicy Juice, Roush Fenway Racing, it's David Johansson. Johansson took last season off. David Johansson took last season off. But this season he's back, and he's in a new team and a new number. We'll see if he'll make a comeback tour worthwhile. In the number 18, representing Joe Gibbs Racing, Chloe Baker. Baker was in the number 6 I mentioned earlier with Roush Fenway. Now she's in Joe Gibbs in a new car. So Chloe, last season she didn't have any wins, but this season she's hoping things could be different. And you know Leia Walker's in the 19 for Joe Gibbs and TA2 Racing. And the number 20, Joe Gibbs as well. It's Armando Shazaz. Shazaz was a part-timer last season in the 46. One of the part-time rides in the 46. Now he's back in a full-time ride for Rock Band 4. In the number 21, it's Benjamin Miles driving the famous Wood Brothers racing machine. Last season, that was Noah Ponzer that was in the 21. The previous 2 seasons, I should say, under Nura was Noah Ponzer. But now that Nura is gone, so is Ponzer, and Miles has stepped in to be the new face of Wood Brothers. He was in the 26 last season. He was in BK Racing. And another Penske machine in the number 22, and of course TA2 Racing's own Luke Walker, with AAA as his main sponsor this season. In the number 23, should be, well, I had this car. I forgot to add the 23, by the way, when, I did signups, but 23 is still there, so. Representing the 23, it is Joseph Romanuk. Oh, last season the 23 didn't. Oh, yeah, the reason I don't. Yeah, the 23 was not used last season. This season, the 23 is back with Winston as its sponsor. Joseph Romanuk. I think BK Racing is running the 23, if I'm not mistaken. So, Joseph Romanuk, one of the rookies this season, and he's back. No, wait. One of the rookies this season, I think. I'm not sure if he competed in any season beforehand, but it's been a while since we've seen his name. Last time I remember, he was in the NASCAR Pro Series. Anyway, John Arnott, as you know, the 24, he's back as the two-time champion of the Pullman Cup Series, the first driver to do so. And so he's back, and look at that. He's got the final ride Exalta machine. So that's Jeff Gordon's final paint scheme that he'll be using in Homestead, Miami in the championship. So we wish Jeff Gordon the best of luck on winning that title in his final year. And we wish John Arnott the best of luck on trying to become a three-time champion, which would be unprecedented in any Entertown 3 Racing League. Anyway, in the 25 for Hedrick Motorsports, his teammate, Arnott's teammate, Cody Hagan. Cody Hagan is back. He was in the 43 last season for Richard Petty. Now he's moved to Hedrick Motorsports in the 25. And he is going to do good on that number. I'm sure of it. Justin Roberts is in the 26 for BK Racing. Justin Roberts, if I could recall, I think he took last season off. I'm just checking right here. If I forgot his name, I apologize. Yeah, I think Justin Roberts took last season off. So Roberts is back in BK Racing, the 26. He was without a ride last season. Now he's back. In the 27, it's Ryan Acosta for Richard Childress Racing. He was a part-timer last season for the 46, and now he's back in a full-time ride. The two-time NASCAR Pro Series champion, Ryan Acosta, is now hoping to get his first Pullman Cup championship. In the number 31, it's Sam Rogers, a driver that also took last season off, but he's back in the 31 for Richard Childress in a new ride. And one of the rookies this season, Paul Barber, is running the number 32 for Go Fast Racing. Another RCR car, number 33, it's Grayson Acevedo in Plankton car. And by the way, Acevedo is a rookie, so, and yet another rookie this season. In the number 34, Front Row Motorsports is Jerry Guerrera, the brother of former champion Nicholas Guerrera. We'll see if the championship runs in the family. In the number 38 is Dylan Young for Front Row Motorsports. Last season, he was in the number 2 car, but now he's moved to the 38 for Front Row in a smaller team machine. He was probably the last driver to get a ride this season, but he's in a smaller team, and Dylan Young hopes to continue his winning ways. In the number 40 for Hillman Smith Racing, Holden Gluba, another rookie here in season 19. And in the 41 for Storthaus Racing, Monster Energy paint scheme, Fetty McDowell. He was in the 27 for Richard Childress, now moving on to Storthaus. In the 42, it is Tony Green for Earnhardt Ganassi. He keeps his number from last season, but is going back to the original Target paint scheme. In the number 43, rookie in Richard Petty Motorsports, Juan Hernandez Jr. I only could fit Juan Hernandez in the name, but it is Juan Hernandez Jr. In the number 44, Alex Hawkins for Triple Extreme Motorsports. And that car is returning into the series after it took last season off. And I think Hawkins also took last season off, if I could recall. Yep. He took last season off, so he's back this season. Jonathan Fitzwater moves to JTG Dartrey Racing in the 47. Kingsford Charcoal. And Fitzwater, by the way, Jonathan was in the 35 last season. He's moved to the 47. And the number 48 is Austin LaPlante. He was in the number 5 last season. He is still with Hedrick, but in a new number, as he's now in the Lowe's machine. In the number 51, it's Seth Cole, one of the final 4 drivers last season. He's now in a Pepsi paint scheme representing H. Scott Motorsports, but he's in the new Pepsi colors. In the number 55, the Aaron's Dream Machine, Michael Waltrip Racing, and SpongeBob, by the way, Anthony Lopez. He's back in his old ride he's long had. He took last season off, I think. And Bernash had that Dream Machine last season, but Lopez is back in the series again. Dylan Thoreau is in the 70 and another Final Four competitor last season. He was in Furniture Row Race. He's representing Furniture Row Racing. Mason Powers retains his ride from last season for Hedrick in the number 88. As you see, that's the other Halo 5 paint scheme I was talking about. The one, by the way, Shrigley, also has Halo 5. So these guys are together. Powers, however, he's his own boss right now in the 88, so he'll race on his own. Number 95, it's Webster Zingarde. He's back, and he's representing Levine Family Racing, so with Larry the Lobster in the back of his car. So let's see if Webster can make a great comeback season. And finally, as you know, TA2 Racing and Roush's own Pichu riding the number 99. So anyway, that's your drivers. Let's take a look at this season's schedule. Alrighty guys, here's your schedule. A couple changes to note. Number 1, the schedule is cut down to 30 races because it would be easier for me to stream or just to do races simultaneously, and it would make it easy for you guys to watch. And also we had to make some sacrifices and changes. I want to make this quick. I want to make this more better racing. So I removed some of the tracks that just didn't provide that realistic racing, and it just wasn't fun. So I'm just going to provide just almost all the tracks you see are just quality, very competitive tracks NR Channel 3 could allow, and some of the best of the best. So basically only the best of the best comes, except for some occasional new ones I never tried, are in the schedule. So anyway, starts off with 8 races to start the regular season. Then we have our first race at Daytona. Then it's followed by Homestead Miami. Homestead Miami is of course the second race this season. Next it'll be Blue Ridge. Blue Ridge Under the Lights. You know Blue Ridge Speedway is back. Coca-Cola Super Speedway returns as well, and so will Orlando, Zombie Spaceport, Greensville Spartanburg. That's going to be moved up to the schedule, and the Super Snack 500. Then it all begins our World Tour. World Tour 19 will begin, starting off with a brand new track. We're back at Zachary Fitzwater's home country, Australia. We're going to Pukekohe. I hope that I pronounced it right. Pukekohe. We're going back to Australia to open up the World Tour. Then Le Mans Circuit in France is back. Then Bikernieki in Latvia. I cut down a couple European races because European races were taking up most of the World Tour schedule, and I want to try to reduce that to make other continents represented really well. So anyway, we go to Bikernieki in Latvia, and then Paris, France. Of course, Audromo de Paris is coming back. Veltins Arena, of course, is back. Rockingham, UK is back. Then we go to Audromo Hermanos Rodriguez. We're going to use the road course formula, but a completely different version of Mexico, by the way. You'll see when we get there. And then 2 races in Canada. You'll notice Montreal is not on the schedule for the first time ever. Yeah, after years of controversial finishes and every race just becoming a wreck fest, I decided to just change things up and decided to remove that once and for all because it just was getting annoying. So we do have 2 Canada races. 349 is back as a World Tour race. It's back to its World Tour standing. And Canadian Tire Motorsports Park is back as well because that's the one Canadian track that's pretty good. And finally, we only have 1 dual weekend this season. We're reducing dual weekends again to make things quicker and fairer and to make it more interesting. And so we're reducing duels to just 1 weekend this season. And that is in the Suzuka circuit. So after the dual weekend, we have our All-Star race and then the Chase. This season's All-Star race will be in Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And then we start off our Chase, which is going to be a lot bigger than last season. It'll now be a 12 race chase instead of a 10 race chase. It'll now be 12 races long, and all will be in major tracks. All will be in Sprint Cup NASCAR tracks. We start the chase off in Richmond, where usually the chase begins, but we start off at Richmond. And then we go to Chicagoland. Chicagoland will be race 2 of the chase. And then Gateway's returning in race 3. Then Atlanta, Las Vegas, Auto Club Speedway, Michigan, Talladega, Darlington, Indianapolis, Charlotte, and finally the championship race at Zandvoorts. We will still have, well, actually, you know what? This season's chase is going to be a little different as well. The chase formula is going to be different. Since there are only like 19 races, well, 18 if you count the Suzuka weekend as just one big weekend. Well, we're going to have 19 winners. We're going to have 19 winners come out of the season before we get to the chase. So every winner will be guaranteed a spot in the chase. We won't meet the minimum of 16 anymore. We could have more than 16 drivers eligible to be in the chase if we have a different winner every single race. That would mean the most we could have is 19 different chasers. So the chase field is going to be probably bigger unless if we have multiple race winners during the season, but the minimum is 16, of course. The most is 19, so winning gets you in the chase definitely because of the shorter schedule. A win virtually automatic. A win in any of the races before the chase virtually automatically gets you in the chase. So a win does matter even more than ever. So, and Richmond, of course, if you win, you move on to the championship race regardless of where you finish in the next couple races, and that's going to be very huge. And of course, we're retaining the rule: the lowest finishing chaser in each race is eliminated. Of course, so we want to retain that rule. But anyway, that'll make things more interesting, and it'll make the chase more fun. So hope you guys will enjoy this formula. And good luck to every drivers this season. We will start up soon. This is the account second here, and I'll see you later.